Hey, what's up? Dave with Brazos Valley Strength. Today I want to make a really quick video. I think we all deserve it after last week's hour-plus long video. So I just wanted to talk briefly about the concept of variations. So in this case, I'm going to be talking specifically about variations of the competition lifts that are directly meant to improve strength. Not necessarily hypertrophy, something like a close grip bench press or a feet up bench press or something like that. I think we could consider variation, but that's much more hypertrophy driven. I think I would put those in the same category a lot of times as dumbbell bench press or something like that. And I wouldn't necessarily include those as variations in this capacity. So what we're talking about would be something like a pause squat, a 3-count bench press, paused deadlift. And I think I can use all three of those as examples here. But we're going to be talking about variations that serve the direct purpose of trying to improve the competition lift, whether that's meant to directly improve strength, improve technical ability, just kind of that area overall. And so first and foremost, what I wanted to talk about was maybe some doubts that I have about the concept or the way that people think about variations. So let's talk about paused squats. This one is just my example. I think you could pick any of those other three that I mentioned. But pause squats. I have doubts that pausing at the bottom of the squat makes the bottom of the squat stronger, right? That it makes your muscles stronger in that position. Of course, there's research that will say that we get stronger, obviously, at the movement that we're doing. That includes range of motion. It could include the isometric itself. But our goal of increasing the squat, full depth, no pause, a pause squat, I have a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that it'll just make your bottom of the squat stronger. I don't really think that's what's happening. And so that's what I wanted to dive into in this video. That if we're not getting stronger by any mechanism that we can point out, then what's happening? So I think having a good understanding here will really help lifters when they have a variation in their program, when they're choosing variations for themselves, and how they can really get the most out of them. So if we say that the variation itself, just by doing a pause at the bottom with no actual intent put into it, is not going to directly improve your squatting more so than just a regular competition squat, it's not going to improve that area of the movement, then how does it work? And I think it all comes down to attention to detail. So we'll still talk about pause squats. If a lifter is struggling to be able to control the rep overall, they're losing their balance, they're just generally not as efficient with their movement, as consistent with their movement as they can, a pause squat might be a very good tool. And so the pause itself is not making them stronger in the bottom, but it's drawing attention to detail through the entire rep, through the descent, through the bottom. And so by improving those positions and just getting the lifter more confident with that movement, especially when they're going after it with a high degree of intent, with a lot of mental engagement, those things very much improve the lift. So I think when we're looking at this, if we're just throwing random variations out there to, hopefully see if this variation works, we're missing the whole point. That we have to be doing something that fits the weakness, and I don't use that term as like a muscular capacity. It fits the weakness that the lifter's skill, the deficit in their skill at the moment. But that's where I see the big gap, is that lifters, especially ones that I coach probably more often than I would like, get assigned a variation and don't really go after it. They don't really go into the variation with the intention of understanding that there's something that we're trying to get out of the variation. That we're trying to say, I don't think you're very good at this. I'm trying to draw attention to detail for you to apply this. And if they don't bring those things, it's just not gonna work, right? If I just do pause squats and don't really focus on what I'm trying to feel in that movement and then carry it over to my competition lift, we're wasting time, right? We're really just not doing it. And I think that sort of brings us to even the concept of sticking points in the first place. This is one that lifters mention to me very often. They say, I think I'm strong or I'm weak out of the bottom. Maybe I should do paused squats in order to train that sticking point. Well, I think that logic is sort of backwards. It is that we're weak in that area in our competition squats I would bet that competition squats are probably a very, very good variation to train that weak point. Like if we're seeing that we're struggling at the bottom of the squat there, then the squat is already doing a good job of challenging that range of motion. We're already weak there. So doing something like a pause squat is going to make that area harder, but it's already hard, right? So I don't think that would be a great, it can be a good tool for the other reasons I've already mentioned. That increasing their balance, increasing their control, increasing their willingness to work, those things can certainly improve the lifter's ability in those areas of the squat. But if we're looking at weak points, sticking points, and we're choosing variations that are making it extremely hard in those areas, I a lot of times think that's backwards because it's already hard. We're already applying a very good stimulus in those areas. So that's where we may use some other exercises to target those muscles, through hypertrophy and those means, and that's another video. But anyway, I think that having a good understanding of that concept overall should really, really help lifters. That you have to go into it with the idea that using these variations will help improve some sort of technical ability, improve your willingness to work, and that without that, it's really not going to benefit you. On the other side of it, I would still use variations for advanced lifters. I still do variations. I have a video a while back talking about why I love pin squats. Pin squats are one of my favorite variations for my squat. But the reason there is that it brings out some of the best qualities in my squat, some of the things that I know that I want to feel and that I do feel when I'm squatting well, right? I think everybody knows I grind pretty hard. So getting used to being able to feel those positions and being comfortable fighting for the position while I get all the way into the hole, that brings out some very, very good qualities in my squat. The pin squat helps me get there. I don't think it's something that I'm doing poorly in other ways. I think it's just getting me to actually feel the things that I want to feel while I'm doing my competition squats. And we can apply that to everything. I think one of the easiest examples is the 3-count bench press. There's many, many lifters that tend to be at least as good, if not better, when doing a long pause on their bench press, especially lifters that sink the bar. So what 3-count bench press can do for lifters that sink the bar is get them to commit, right? Get them to commit to actually getting down in their chest and using some body to pop it off. Where sometimes we lose that rhythm, we get a little bit too tentative and we don't commit all the way down at the bottom and we lose some of that explosiveness. We can see that too with paused deadlifts. I may make a video at some point in the future, but paused deadlifts do a very, very similar thing. I don't think at all that paused deadlifts are making somebody stronger in the bottom. I just don't think that's happening. But I do think that it's making them very, very willing and ready to work very hard in those positions, improve their position, and then that ends up transferring to their competition lift. So if you have a variation in your program, if you're looking for a variation to fix a weak point or whatever, you have to understand why we're doing it. So I think we can put them into two categories. Is that it's currently something you're not doing very well, and including that lift will help you engage. It'll help you bring the intent that you need to. Or it's something you already do very well, but it's just helping you reinforce those qualities and move the way that you really want to. And I think both are very viable. But if you're just moving, if you're just going through the motions with the variation and hoping that the variation is going to fix your lift for you or make the sticking point better, I think we're missing the whole point. So anyway, I have a plan. I have a bunch of videos coming on this topic and many other topics. Hopefully this year will be a big year for the channel and everything. So anyway, I appreciate all you guys taking the time to watch it. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up if you did like the video, and we'll see you next time.